All right, so today we're going to go over Genesis 37 from favor to the pit. So, if you've got your Bibles, open them up and we're going to get started. So, here we go. And this is going to start Joseph's story, Joseph and his brothers. So, it's going to have some really interesting stuff in it. I think those who are watching, they're gonna go, "Oh, this is interesting." So here you go. So we open the Bibles to chapter 37, verses 1 through 8. Jacob dwelt in the land where his father had sojourned, in the land of Canaan. This is the genealogy of Jacob. Joseph, being 17, was shepherding the sheep with his brothers. Now he was with the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought a bad report of them to his father. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all of his sons, because he was the son of his old age. He also made a tunic of many colors, but when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all his brothers, they hated him and could not speak civilly with him. Then Joseph had a dream and then reported it to his brothers. Thus he told them, "Hear this dream that I dreamed. There we were, binding sheaves in the field. Then behold, my sheaf arose and also stood upright. And indeed your sheaf stood all around and bowed down to my sheaf." So his brothers said to him, "Shall you indeed reign over us?" So they hated him even more for his dreams and for his words. So we see a transition begins. The focus is going to now be more so on Jacob's sons. There is sort of a shift done generationally, but still the story focuses on the same family. So this part's going to focus on them, primarily Joseph. So these 12 sons are the forefathers, the patriarchs of Israel. So Joseph is going to have two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. Ephraim will be considered Joseph's heir, not his firstborn Manasseh. And Ephraim will actually be the most populous tribe of Israel. There will even be places in the Psalms where Israel will be called Ephraim. When Israel splits in half after Solomon's reign, the northern kingdom will be referred to as Ephraim, and the southern kingdom will be Judah. And Ephraim's capital will end up being Samaria. And then in 722 BC, Ephraim was conquered by Assyria. So many scholars today argue Torah was written after the exile, but Genesis seems to argue against that because after the exile, Ephraim and Joseph weren't important because they did not exist as tribes anymore. And Judah, Benjamin, and Levi would be the focus, not the others. So that's just kind of a little argument that some people make, and you can kind of accept that one or not, right? But anyways, just thought I'd bring that up because it's a little important to how we'll read Torah later and scriptures in general, probably. So Joseph 17 brings a bad report to his brothers to Jacob. So Joseph's kind of a rat here. He was with Bilhah and Zilpah's sons and gave a bad report on them first. So Joseph and Rachel's firstborn and Jacob's favorite is doing this. And Jacob publicly favors Joseph among his brothers. That's also a red flag. Not good. Not good that Jacob's doing that. The rivalry and the bitterness that he caused between his wives has carried over to his sons. There is likely also a large gap between Joseph at 17 with his brothers. They're all likely in their 20s or older. So, we tend to read Joseph as an individual responsible for his own actions here, and we should. But it should also be noted that the ancient readers of this would not view it so much as Joseph making choices as an individual freely and unrelated to anything going on. They would read it more so as Joseph being the product of the family that he grew up in, who he is defined by these relationships he has with his parents and his brothers. So Jacob has, for example, set up a family system and a family dynamic, and his wives and kids exist in that. So Joseph is responsible for his actions, but Jacob is also responsible because he's putting Joseph in this role and position that he has. And this is another example, too, of why I keep saying polygamous marriages almost always bear bad fruit in the Old Testament. There's always a lot of dysfunction for everyone. And this kind of ordering produces chaos. Um, and just in general, like even in monogamous relationships, like this is not a good way to go about it with your kids, right? Making one like your favorite in this way, like it's not going to breed good stuff. It's not going to breed good order, right? So you try not to do that. And I think Torah wisely puts this in here to try to be like, don't do this. This is not the right way you should go about it. But anyways, so continuing, Genesis 37 is here to show us how Jacob caused some of this bad stuff because of the way he ordered things. So sins committed by the sons are the product of that disorder. So why is Joseph giving a bad report? Not because he's an evil rat, but because this is the dynamic that he's been set up and raised in. And Jacob also, since he loves Joseph more, he even gives him a coat of many colors to display that as well. So this is an expensive and showy thing. Of course, his brothers are going to despise him for that. And then to make things worse here, Joseph has a dream and he tells it to his brothers, and the brothers obviously hate him now even more because the dream seems to confirm their fear that Jacob is going to probably consider Joseph as the firstborn, and then the others will get kicked out, especially the maidservant sons. So, I mean, he literally says that they're bowing to his sheath, right? Like at first glance, you would be interpreting that as the brothers like, oh, that's not good. We're going to bow to him because Jacob's going to make us he's going to make Joseph the firstborn, right? So, that's what they're thinking anyways. So next up, we have chapter 37, 9 through 11, Joseph's second dream. And I have a little visual here too. So then he dreamed another dream and told it to his brothers. Thus he told them, look, I've dreamed another dream, and this time the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars bowed to me. So he told it to his father and his brothers. And Jacob rebuked him and said to him, what is this dream you've dreamed? Shall your mother Leah and I and your brothers indeed come and bow down on the ground before you? And his brothers envied him, but his father kept the matter in mind. So Joseph dreams again, and this time he tells Jacob, Leah, and the sons about it, and tells them in the dream that the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars all bow to him. Even Jacob rebukes him for this one because he's very much the favorite, but he's definitely pushing it here, right? So I need to explain dreams too. So dreams are a mode of prophecy, and Joseph indeed does have a gift and a connection with dreams and dream interpretation. But his dreams will also come true. But they disturb even Jacob here because he should be the one who's on top in the order, not Joseph. So yet Joseph dreams the sun, Jacob, the moon, Leah, and 11 stars, his brothers, will bow or submit to him. So Jacob, the text says, kept this in his mind, thinking on it as he sees it as significant. And in the ancient times, dreams are seen as the nous being given information and being more open during sleep. So, for example, most people have an inner monologue, and the ancient world would say that this is not coming from you, but rather somewhere else or someone else. So say you dreamt of a deceased person. They understood this as you are encountering those who are in the spiritual realm potentially. Nightmares, those could be evil spirits. So the role of the prophet is to be able to understand and interpret dreams. Joseph, at this age, probably doesn't understand the dream yet, and Jacob ponders over it, but shows some dysfunction by not asking God to give him discernment here. So there's some issues going on there. So then now we're going to get to verses 12 through 31. Then his brothers went to feed their father's flock in Shechem, and Israel said to Joseph, aren't your brothers shepherding the sheep in Shechem? Come, I'll send you to them. So he said to him, here I am. Then Israel said to him, go and see if it's well with your brothers and well with the sheep, and bring back word to me. So he sent him out to the valley of Hebron, and he went to Shechem. A certain man found him there, and there he was, wandering in the field. So the man asked him, saying, who are you seeking? And he replied, I'm looking for my brothers. Tell me where they're feeding their sheep. Then the man said to him, they've departed from here, for I heard them say, let's go to Dothan. So Joseph went after his brothers and found them in Dothan. Now, when they saw him from far off, even before he came near them, they conspired against him to kill him. Then they said to one another, look, this dreamer is coming. Come, therefore now let's kill him and cast him into some pit, and we'll say some wild beast has devoured him. We'll see what will become of his dreams. But Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands and said, let's not kill him. Again, Reuben said to him, shed no blood, but cast him into this pit in the desert, and don't lay a hand on him, that he might deliver Joseph out of their hands and bring him back to his father. So it came to pass when Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped the tunic of many colors off of him, took him and cast him into the pit, which was empty, for there was no water in it. And they sat down to eat a meal, lifted their eyes and looked, and there was a company of Ishmaelite wayfarers coming from Gilead, and with their camels bearing spices, balm, and myrrh, on their way to carry them down to Egypt. So Judah said to his brothers, "What profit is there if we kill our brother and conceal his blood? Come, let's sell him to the Ishmaelites, but let's not our hands be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh." And so his brothers listened. Thus the Midianite traders passed by, and the brothers pulled Joseph up and lifted him out of the pit, and they sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of gold. So they took Joseph to Egypt. Reuben returned to the pit, and when he saw that Joseph wasn't in there, he tore his clothes. So he returned to his brothers and said, "The lad isn't there, and where shall I go?" Thus they took Joseph's tunic, killed a kid of the goats, and dipped the tunic in the blood. Then they sent the tunic in many colors and had it brought to their father and said, "We found this. Do you know whether it's your son's tunic or not?" So he recognized it and said, "This is my son's tunic." A wild animals devoured Joseph and carried him off. Then Jacob tore his clothes, put sackcloth on his waist, and mourned for his son many days. Thus all of his sons and daughters arose to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. And he said, "I will go down to the grave to my son in mourning." So his father wept for him. Now the Midianites sold him in Egypt to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh and captain of the guard. So we get here, the sons are feeding flocks in Shechem, so Jacob sends Joseph off to them to see if they're doing the right things. So Jacob continues to do things that have caused issues, and Joseph goes, asks a man if he's seen them. He says they left for Dothan, so he goes there. Brothers see him and then conspire to murder him. Now, verse 21, Reuben, though disinherited, stops them and suggests they put him in this well or pit instead. He's not a fan of them, but he doesn't want them to murder him. So Reuben also plans to get Joseph out later and bring him back to Jacob. This could be a little act of repentance here, but it is also possible he's just trying to get this and use this as leverage to get back into Jacob's good graces too. So the brothers take his coat off, throw him down the pit or the well, and then they have lunch. They see some Ishmaelites, and Judah suggests they sell him off to them instead of murdering their brother. So we'll get cursed if we murder him, but they can get rid of him this way, right? So they're, it's messed up. So Ishmaelites, Midianites buy him, and Joseph is sent to Egypt for 20 pieces of gold. Reuben returns, and you can kind of see traces of Christ here, can't you? Gets betrayed by his brothers and, all this. So Reuben returns, finds Joseph isn't there, so he thinks his brothers killed him when he wasn't looking, so they end up killing a kid, like a goat kid. Not a kid, but a goat kid. They killed a goat. So they cover the coat in its blood. Then they send the coat to Jacob and ask, quote unquote, if it's Joseph's or not. Jacob recognizes it and thinks he's dead, so he mourns Joseph for many days. All his sons and daughters arose to comfort Jacob. So they continue to lie to him, and it's deceit. Like, this is not good deceit. Like we've talked about earlier in other chapters, how there's forms of deceit that are good. This is not good. So Jacob has been deceived and conned by his own sons here. This outcome is a product of the structure and order or disorder that Jacob has set up for his family and how he's lived his life. The Midianites sold Joseph to an Egyptian named Potiphar, which is a very common Egyptian name. And this Potiphar is an officer of Pharaoh and a captain of the guard. So some might ask, what Pharaoh was Joseph under? We don't know, but a good guess for it? Someone in or near the end of Egypt's Middle Kingdom era, because what separates the Middle Kingdom era from the New Kingdom era is an invasion by some foreigners called the Hyksos, who took over Egypt briefly. Hyksos are anyone from the east or any Asiatic. So if you're from the south of Egypt, you're generally called an Ethiopian or a Cushite. But if you're from the east, you're called a Hyksos. So this period was likely before that, because actual Egyptians shaved everything, while the Hyksos Asiatic overlords of Egypt didn't. They shaved their heads, eyebrows, faces, and everything because of hygiene and to avoid lice. So this is why the elites of Egypt wore wigs and ornamental fake beards. In the New Kingdom, they had longer hair and beards because they didn't shave just about everything. So likely a pharaoh in that period. Now, it could also be that this period was after the Hyksos rebellion too. So keep that in mind. Like, we cannot know fully. I kind of think it's actually after. So, um, because afterwards there would be, well, we'll see later why it could be after, but I'll explain that later. But so while this isn't definitive by any means, this gives a possibility that if the Hyksos period is in between Joseph and Moses, this would make sense why at the beginning of Exodus that a Pharaoh arises that doesn't know about Joseph. So that's possible. So it also means that at the beginning of the New Kingdom era, Asiatics like Joseph and the Israelites were not going to be well liked after the Egyptians regained their kingdom over invading people. So it's just keep those thoughts in mind if this part's really important to you, like because we don't know, but we can make some good guesses, maybe here or there. But anyways, so that's all I've got for that little part. And in Genesis 38, we're going to learn about Judah and Tamar because it deviates from there. So, um, anyways, so I hope you guys enjoyed that one, and we're gonna go to chapter 38 next time. And if you like this podcast, hit like, subscribe, and I hope you continue listening. So, thank you. God bless you, and I'll see you on the flip side.